Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cozy Chair. I'm so glad that you are all here today because today I have a really big, big, big tale for you today, and it is called Bobby's Biggest Bubble. And this is a super fun story, especially if you love bubblegum. And pink bubblegum is my favorite. I remember when it was Halloween, I got all the pieces of bubblegum and I put them in my mouth and I chewed and chewed and chewed and blew this big, big bubble that was as big as my head. But guess what? I wore glasses. And when the bubble popped, it covered my glasses in bubblegum. Well, that's a silly story. And I hope today you will enjoy this silly story from Jim Romer. He is the author and the illustrator. So let's see what happens in Bobby's biggest tale. This is Bobby. One day, Bobby received a large envelope from the mailman. Inside was a letter from the Big Buddy Bubblegum Company. The letter said that Bobby was the grand prize winner of a very special bubblegum contest and that his prize was on its way. I wonder what he's going to win. The next day, a huge crate was delivered in front of Bobby's house. Opening the crate was very difficult. After some time, Bobby and his friends slowly began to pry the crate open until suddenly, boom! The crate burst open and out poured thousands and thousands of shiny gumballs. Bobby found a note in the crate that said the gumballs were called the Super Duper Wubble Bubble Really Gummy Gumballs. Try to say that 10 times fast. The Super Duper Wubble Bubble Really Gummy Gumballs. Some gumballs were bouncy, some were chewy. A few felt like rubber, while others were gooey. Bobby smiled. He had a few ideas. What do you think he's going to do with all those gumballs? What would you do if you got thousands and thousands of gumballs? Let's see what he does. First, Bobby molded animal statues out of his chewed-up bubblegum. Bobby's friend Otter made strips of bubblegum and wrapped his entire body like a gummy mummy. Bobby and Otter played a game of marbles with the gumballs, and they had a balancing contest to see who could balance the most bubbles at one time. Then Bobby tied 2 big bubbles on his feet, which allowed him to bounce very high. Wouldn't that be fun? If you had giant bubbles on your feet and you could bounce all around the house, that'd be so fun. To bounce even higher, Bobby invented a gummy trampoline. Ba-boing! Then Bobby created a pair of gumshoes so he could walk up the sides of trees and walls. It was Otter's idea to gather up all the gumballs into one gigantic pile. They called it Mount Gummy. While sitting at the top of Mount Gummy, Bobby thought of the greatest idea of all. He was going to make the biggest bubblegum bubble in the world. Ding! Do you know what it means when they have a light bulb above their head? It means, I got a good idea. Do you think he's going to be able to create the biggest bubblegum in the biggest bubble in the world? To make the biggest bubble in the world, Bobby needed a huge amount of bubblegum. So Bobby started chewing, while Otter used a shovel to stuff him full of gumballs. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Bobby kept on chewing and chewing, adding more and more and more gumballs until he could no longer fit another gumball into his mouth. How many gumballs do you think you could fit in your mouth? Do you think you could put shovelfuls of gumballs in your mouth? Bobby began to inhale and took a very, 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 very big breath. Can you take a big breath like this? Bobby was finally ready to create the biggest bubblegum bubble in the world. At first, Bobby had a very hard time trying to start the bubble with so much gum in his mouth. But soon the bubble began to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Ah, look at his little face in that bubble. Isn't that silly? Bobby's mother was preparing dinner when he entered the kitchen with a bubble. She said, "Bobby, I can't make dinner. Your bubble's too big." She told Bobby to take the bubble outside. There was no room in the house for Bobby's biggest bubble. Bobby and Otter ran outside. The bubble grew bigger and bigger. Bobby's dad was just arriving home from work when his dad said, "Bobby, I can't park in my car. Your bubble's too big." He asked Bobby to head towards town. There was no more room in the front of the house for Bobby's biggest bubble. Bobby and Otter jogged into the center of town. The bubble grew bigger and bigger. The market owner, Mrs. Applebottom, was sweeping when the bubble's huge shadow covered her shop. She cried out to Bobby, "Bobby, people can't find my store. Your bubble's too big." She suggested that Bobby should head to the park. There was no room in the center of town for Bobby's biggest bubble. Look at this. The Today's News says that there's a meteor. Wonder what's going to happen with that meteor. Bobby and Otter stumbled into the park. The bubble grew bigger and bigger. Old Mr. Crumple was sitting on a park bench. As he saw the bubble enter the park, he could no longer see the birds, flowers, or trees. Mr. Crumple yelled out to Bobby, "Bobby, I can't see the park. Your bubble's too big." He insisted that Bobby go to the hills on the outskirts of town. There was no room in the park for Bobby's biggest bubble. Where is he gonna fit? Bobby and Otter climbed all the way up to the top of the tallest hill. The bubble grew bigger and bigger. Nearby, Professor Knowstuff came running out of his observatory, screaming out loud, "Bobby, I can't see the stars, the moon, or the meteor that's heading this way. Your bubble's too big." Uh-oh. Remember? Meteor study. Something is headed their way. Otter asked the professor, "Excuse me, Professor Knowstuff, but did you just say that a giant meteor is headed towards us?" "Yes! A huge rock from outer space is heading towards our town!" The professor was so nervous that he bumped into Bobby and caused him to spit out his bubblegum. Bobby's biggest bubble blasted upward into the sky like an unknotted balloon. Higher and higher, Bobby's biggest bubble rose up into the sky until, boing, pop! The meteor bounced off the bubble and skyrocketed back into outer space, never to return again. Can you believe it? His bubble pushed the meteor back into space. The next day, Bobby and Otter were all over the news. Bobby's biggest bubble was destroyed by the meteor, but the town was saved. The townspeople cheered for Bobby and Otter as they were carried in a parade through the streets. They were national heroes. Isn't that great? They saved the town. But oh no! Look at that town. It is covered in bubblegum. Oh! It would take several months to clean up all the scattered bubblegum. Slowly, everything was returning back to normal. Well, that was until Bobby won £1 million of Jolly Belly jelly. Oh no! But then, that's another story. The end. Oh, look at that! What did you think of that story? If you liked that story, you can look down below and click that link and it will take you where you can buy this story. So I hope you enjoyed this. Now listen up. I think it would be so fun if we had a bubblegum blowing contest. So if you think that you can blow the biggest bubble and you get a picture of it, then send it to me at thecozychairclub.com. You can email me at thecozychairclub.com and I will look at all of the pictures of you with your biggest bubble. And guess what? Whoever blows the biggest bubblegum will get some bubblegum and this book, Bobby's Biggest Bubble. So head on out to the store, get some bubblegum, and get blowing those giant bubbles. remember to send me a picture of your giant bubble at thecozychairclub@gmail.com. Thanks so much for coming, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye!